Right, so we are back for episode 11, a nice Paladin-centric episode, and obviously I had to beg this chap to come on because, you know, he's a busy man, but he's got more Paladin knowledge probably in his brain than the rest of the community has, so hopefully I'm bigging you up enough, Cal.
Oh, yeah, appreciate it.
So obviously, yeah, myself, Meta Goblin, you know, we're always here anyway, so no introduction really needed there. But Cal, do you want to just tell us a bit about your knowledge around Paladins and what you're playing at the moment?
So I've been playing a Paladin in TBC, private servers, retail, for a very long time. And it's funny is TBC Paladin is the only Paladin I actually play. So get me outside of TBC, and I actually go away from Prod Paladins, even though I joined them in Wrath. I like to stay in my wheelhouse. So I've been playing a long time. The reason I got into him was Hobbs was a guy on YouTube who would farm and do big AoE pulls, and that kind of drew me in. And then once I started playing it, I actually thoroughly enjoyed 5-mans. I thought they were super easy as a prop paladin, and they are. Their kit is just amazing. And long story short, so I ended up playing that for a very long time. Every private server I run a prot paladin because I feel they can carry a guild early on, tanking attunements to farming, all the fun jazz. And we'll get into it of what they bring to the table. But currently run a guild, get carried, and then I've had it going for over a decade. So.
Oh wow! Yeah. I didn't realize it had been around that long.
Yep. We play anything from retail to private servers. I've played in other guilds along the way, but I don't think I've ever truly stopped running a guild. We always hang out, so.
That's
get
cool.
Together for projects.
So PvE wise, I'm assuming you've cleared everything literally from Karazhan to Sunwell Plateau.
Yeah, I've cleared Sunwell 3 different times on private servers. On the Realm Zul'jin, on retail, I got KJ killed. It wasn't pre-nerf or anything like that, but since then I've killed KJ a few times. But anything in T4 and T5, hundreds, and I mean hundreds of times.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, so Meta, you've got a bit of experience in private servers playing a Paladin. I recall watching you doing some tanking not too long ago, actually.
Yeah, like on Endless, I rode a Protection Paladin for about a few months. So yeah, that's about it. Apart from, I think Paladin's actually probably one of the first classes I played all the way back in Wrath of the Lich King. I played it a lot back then. In Wrath and Cataclysm.
Yeah. So have you, obviously, yeah, you was playing predominantly prot. Cal, obviously in all the time you've been a Paladin, obviously I've personally raided with you when you was Ret, and you got me killed on Aran, which I'm never going to forget. But have you played much Holy?
I have. So there's a server called TBC 5-man, completely modded server, but beyond that, I do play Holy. Usually I try to, since I run the guild, I can kind of pick and choose who I have in my guild, so I slot myself in the Ret tree more often than I can Holy. But I do, like any good Paladin, you should honestly carry all 3 specs. It, takes up some bank space, but if you want to be the guild's go-to Paladin, be the go-to Paladin and have every spec at least viable.
Yeah, that makes sense.
By the time, if you've been farming T5 for a few months and you get into BT and you're still using blues and greens, like as a off-spec, holy spec, you're doing it wrong. Like, always pick up off-spec gear as a Paladin. Pick one that you want to be good at and then just have the other one just in case. But I lean towards Ret. I find it to be very fun, but I absolutely can play holy. Just as, I don't like to, but I can just as good.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And obviously, just for everybody listening or watching, obviously, on Classic, I'm playing a Paladin. I'm going to be Paladin main in TBC as well, Protection. So, obviously, my experience in TBC as a Paladin is quite limited, if I'm honest with you. But, that's why we've got these guys here. So what we'll do, we'll jump straight in, and I'll let you kick off, Cal. So on the stream, I've just put on the talent calculator in TBC, so we can highlight any specific talents if we want to talk about anything. But if we just go from left to right, so we'll start with Holy. Just give us a breakdown of Holy viability in PvE and PvP.
So, Holy and PvE, there's generically two different specs. You can play the very selfish spec, as I call it, and it's Flash of Lighting. So it's where you stack healing power and or bonus healing, excuse me, and you just flash a light. You have pretty much infinite mana. You have very fast heals. You're pretty much sniping heals, is what how I consider it. It can be viable with some certain paladin setups, like if you don't, God forbid, you don't run a red paladin and you're running 2 holy paladins, then one of them can be flash of light. The other one absolutely should be the other paladin, which is int stacking and holy lighting. So at least in PvE, holy light paladins are gonna be the more favored one. And for 5-mans, I think it's a toss up between flash of lighting and holy lighting. It's all situational depending on tank and things like that. Like if I'm a healer and I'm a paladin and I have a prop paladin tank who's gonna do big AoE pulls, then of course I just want to bomb holy lights and let the AoE clean it up.
Yeah, so it sort of shifted, didn't it? Because even obviously, I was healing as a priest on Endless, for example, and I know I appreciate it's not Paladin, but where at the moment in Classic it's spam, like constantly just hammering that flash of light button, then in TBC it changes a bit to be a bit more clever. So you have to be, not fake casting, but you might cancel a holy light halfway through.
Yeah, so correct. Cancel casting early on is the play, and of course, as you get later into the game where you have your options to get haste, then canceling doesn't hurt a paladin as much as it does in like T4, T5.
Yeah.
So cancel casting is pretty much how you're gonna keep yourself from going and it all depends on type of healer setups. I don't see our holy paladin getting a shadow priest, but a shadow priest is so good for a holy paladin. It
how many
penalizes them
slots
less.
are there for them in a raid? Would you say?
For you want one paladin healer ideally if you're going like the min max, and they're there to buff. The problem with them is that paladin, whoever wants to be the guild's holy paladin, in all honesty, cannot miss a raid at all. 100% attendance. Like you have to be very, very stable, because of course, like if you miss a raid and that's real life's gonna happen. It just either you're trying to find a second or a third paladin buff depending on your raid. My raid, I always like 3, but you can get away with 2, and then if you have less than 2, then it's gonna hurt you.
Yeah, that makes sense.
2 would be the bare minimum.
What about PvP? Have you done much PvP as holy, or like?
So yeah, I go more for the bursty triple DPS paladin. So judge, like a Shakadan technically is kind of what most people would call it, because you can what comp was I running one time? It was like Shadow Priest, Warlock, Shakadan. Like you've got really good. The other 2 can survive a little by themselves, and then your small amount of extra little heals, but you're there to do like big damage. Believe it or not, like Shakadans can do some pretty dumb burst damage.
So is that taking? Do you go obviously just basically down to Holy Shock, and then do you go take Seal of Command? Is it sort of a holy rat build?
You Seal of Righteous. So you kind of you build around Seal of Righteous, and eventually, I think it's during the BT badge vendor, they release a Seal of Righteous Libram. It really makes you start doing some dumb damage with that seal.
All right,
it can be really, really fun. Like you're technically a healer, but you definitely can be like snap kill people. You can do 30-40% of somebody's health. It's of course you got to crit. You could be stacking spell power. You could be stacking. That'd probably be spell power, I think, is how it would end up going. But it's not like Rat the Lich King where you just sit back and bomb holy lights and flash lights. Like you're gonna get interrupted and it's gonna get ugly for you quick. I think in 5s, a 5 setting, a Holy Paladin, like an actual true healing Holy Paladin, can be viable, but I don't see him being viable in 2s or 3s at all, unless they're being hybrid.
So what would you pair with, let's say, a Shockadin? So yeah, we're going for the offensive Paladin spec. In twos, what would you say is sort of the strongest partner?
Something bursty, maybe like a Palm Pyro Mage. Like if you're really trying to get a good setup, a good Hodge, and kill the partner. Maybe a Palm Pyro Mage early on in 1 season 2.
That's
and like a Holy Paladin. I mean, it's tricky because Holy Paladins in Arena, it's never going to be a fun time for them. It's a lot of working uphill. But I mean, if you're good and you can pull it off, awesome. It's going to be some cheesy comp though. It's not going to be just Paladin Warrior, Paladin, maybe a Hunter, but I don't know. If you want to try to do like some longer lasting comp, maybe Paladin Hunter.
Yeah, it's not going to be sort of, just what you would expect, as in, like you say, putting a Holy Paladin with a Warrior and expect, because you're not really there to heal. I assume that's what you're getting at. You're there to obviously support and put out big burst.
Like a Paladin or like a Warrior Druid should beat a Paladin Warrior almost every game. Now, Freedom is cool, but there's a lot of downtime without it for the benefits of bringing a Paladin. And like Blessing of Kings or Might's just going to get purged or dispelled.
So go on, let's bring Meta in. So Meta, go on, what's your thoughts on Holy Paladin? Well, I don't know if you've played Holy Paladin much in TBC, but what's your thoughts on him?
I honestly couldn't say anything about it, to be fair. I have literally zero experience of Holy.
Have you healed at all on private servers, or have you been predominantly central DPS?
A little bit as a shaman, that's a bit. I don't normally play a healer.
No, that's fair enough. Well, okay, we'll skip over you, and I'll just my thoughts in TBC as a Paladin, because I've as I said, I've not mained one on a private server, but I do know, they're strong. As in, I used to 2-heal, like Karazhan, for example. I was 2-healing with a guy called Steve, who he was a Holy Paladin, I was a Holy Priest, well, an IDS Priest. And his healing was strong, his mana would last, but he actually helped me, to be fair, because I was still stuck in the classic mentality of spam healing, for example. But yeah, the shift, I think people are going to have to really appreciate that shift in going to cancel casting, because it's quite different. It's very different to what we're used to, and I think you're going to really suffer if you don't learn very, very quickly how powerful it actually is, because you want to basically minimize the amount of overhealing. That's it. Whereas overhealing does not matter at all now. As in classic, you're spamming people who are on full health, just hoping that they take a little bit of damage. Actually, to put it what Ruse said on the stream, so it's like playing whack-a-mole in classic. That's exactly what it is. You're just literally just spamming constantly, just trying to squeeze a little bit of healing out. Whereas if you get stuck in that mentality in TBC and you start doing it, you're going to struggle. You're going to be extremely quick. And like Cal said, that was interesting actually, Cal, to be fair. I didn't even realise there was still a Flash of Light spamming sort of build. I thought it was all just Holy Light. It's
again, like I queued it, I led off with, it's a very selfish way of healing. You're a meter whore if you're going to be. They do really, really strong HPS, but it's like you've got a renew or a hot on a person, and that will absolutely top them off. Or maybe Chain Heal's going to bounce and heal some melee, but the Paladin's over there just 1 second cast, just bloop, 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 just topping them off. But they're not like healing the tank or anything. They're just, because they can't bomb Holy Lights because they don't have the mana pool to do it, so they're just going to sit and flash a light. And even their flash of lights, again, if it's your playstyle, that's fine. I just, as a raid leader, I don't allow it usually.
Yeah, so you would, if I wanted to join your guild in TBC, and I said I wanted to be a Holy Paladin, you would discourage me from being the Flash of Light spec.
Well, yeah, I'd catch it really quick. Like I'd look at like your setup, your gemming. If I see pure plus healing gems, I'm gonna immediately question what kind of healing style. But if you go intellect, which gives you crit, and then Holy Paladins have a talent that, the more int they have, the more healing and spell power they have. Or maybe it's just spell power, but...
No, it's both, damage and healing. Holy Guidance.
So it's really good to in stack, because once you start getting all the sockets and things like that, there's a lot of good pieces from Karazhan. There's a intellect trinket off Shade of Iran. You know, they can be very viable, and they're a huge asset to the raid then.
Yeah, and then when you're popping off a nice sort of, I don't know, rank 3, rank 4 sort of holy light, so it's going to do a big amount, and you've got all that in, and you've got all that crit, so you're proccing illumination. I mean, getting a massive heal for free is just, it feels so much more rewarding than just spamming flash of light anyway, in my opinion.
Oh yeah.
All right, cool. So we've all had a little brief sort of overview on Holy Paladin. So let's dig into it a little bit deeper now. So what? I'll start with meta. I appreciate you haven't played it, but obviously I know you do loads of research. You understand the classes and all of that. Is there anything that sticks out that Holy Paladins gained in TBC compared to Classic? That just makes them that bit better.
Well, don't we get a cooldown at the bottom of a tree?
Yeah, Divine Illumination.
Yeah, so just even more mana reduction, like they needed anymore.
Yeah, and 50%, so 50% mana reduction for 15 seconds. Obviously, yeah, that's big, and it's only a 3-minute cooldown as well. I know it's pretty standard sort of cooldown, but it seems quite powerful. I mean, before I move over to Cal, because he'll probably just butcher everything I'm going to say. I mean, for me, it's not actually about what was added, if I'm honest. It is that playstyle of Holy that I like. But, I mean, when you look at the talent tree, things like Light's Grace, gives you Holy Light spell 100% chance to reduce the cast time of your next Holy Light by half a second. I like that. I like that sort of reactive healing. And Blizzard are almost saying, no, you need to start using Holy Light. When you look at some of the changes that they've done, I think even they wanted to move away from the Flash of Light spamming. But it is, I've not really got a great deal to add, because I think Holy was in a good place in Classic. Like, it's in a good place currently. And all they've really done is just made it a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I know, Holy Paladins in Classic, and I'm usually strictly Horde player for Vanilla, but they had very strong, their heals were really coefficiently strong with what it cost to cast them. And Light's Grace is pretty much what you nailed it on the head. That ability next to Holy Shock is kind of what brought the Holy Light Paladin more into the game.
Yeah, and I mean, as I say, healing as a Paladin in Classic, I was healing Blackwing Lair last night. You could call it that, but you can literally go for an entire fight just spamming rank 1 Flash of Light. I do occasionally. I use 3 different ranks. I use a max rank, a rank 1, and a rank 3, I believe. But you could go all the way through the fight, literally spamming rank 1 Flash of Light, do really well on the meters, and literally your mana will barely move. When the bosses were on like 20% and I'm looking at the other healers and they're chugging mana pots and they're pretty much I'm still sat there on like 70-80% mana. Unless you really try and push it, because you're just trying to pad meters, which... don't get me wrong, we all like to top meters, but also I think when it comes to healing, topping damage meters is all well and good. You should be pushing as hard as you can, but with healing, you need to just be a bit smarter. I don't see the need of, whether you're on top of the healing meter or you're on the bottom. What it actually comes down to is, did anyone die, and did you sort of at least keep up with everybody else? And if your mana's higher than them, maybe it's not actually you're slacking, it's you're just healing smarter, because why waste mana?
Correct. I mean, not only be smarter about healing, but this is going to kind of bring it wholesome. You need to have synergy with your team. Your healing team needs to be synergized together. They need to know, all right, we know that Paladin's bombing Holy Lights on the tank. If I cannot jump a chain heal, a Druid should always have Life Blooms, right? That's the filler for the Holy Paladin. So he's bombing Holy Lights, tank gets hit, you got some little hot healing, boom, next Holy Light connects. Like, you need to have, or you have an Earth Shield proc or a pre-shield, like, the Holy Paladin and the Druid are your tank healers, right? Like, that's how our guild is set up, and that's how it should be. But, of course, coming out with a speed meta or something coming up, it could change. You could see some crazy, maybe double Resto Druid and just let Hots heal the tank and the other 4 healers heal the raid. But I see Pally buffs being strong in speedrunning, but and also back to it is not only Holy Light or Holy Grace or whatever it's called, Light's Grace, you have multiple crit talents in the talent tree too that really pushes intellect really well. You know, for int stacking, where a holy paladin's even using the classic flask, the distilled wisdom, which in TBC gives them 65 intellect. So.
Yeah, and like you're saying, yeah, I mean, just one talent alone, you're getting 6% crit from holy light, and then obviously when you move down, you get another 5% on just overall holy talent. So when you think about that, that's like 11% crit from holy light just with 2 talents.
Well, here's the other thing: is there's a really strong item. If you are going to be that flash of light holy paladin, the PvP gloves give you a static 2% flash of light crit too, which is super nice and considerably best in slot if you're going to flash a light. I'll try to talk about both types of healing, even though, like, please paladins, don't be flash of light spam. It's not good. It's so selfish.
All right, so I think that's a decent overview. We are going to get into abilities and everything else a little bit later down the line. But have either of you got anything to add in on Holy before we move over to Prot, which is where I think this is going to kick off?
I mean, remember, like, arena weapons are really strong. They're usually best in slot for some classes, especially a Prot Paladin. So however you have to get to 1850 rating, even if it means you healing arena, do it. So no matter if it's Ret, you really aren't going to do Prot arena, but Holy or Ret's one of your 2 ways to get a higher arena rating. So just make sure you're playing a viable comp, and you might have to heal arena to get your Prot weapon or something. So I always toss that out there.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. So what?
The Gladiator's Gavel is really good for healing, and it's really good for Prot. So.
How much better is it than the is it Unearthed Gavel or something like that? The one from
here's how I put it, right? The equivalent weapon is for tier 4 is off Gruul's Lair. It's a sword that gives you spell power. Now you could be the Prot Paladin that takes that crit sword, because it's a crit sword, spell crit, a lot of spell power. Or you could just do arena as an off spec and get your own weapon and not take that big juicy sword from one of your casters, like a mage or a warlock.
Yeah, again, you probably wouldn't be making many friends, would you?
Yeah. I mean, as for Ret, you don't really ever want the PvP wet, because you'll use Storm Herald forever. Or if you're a PvE Ret, you might use Lionheart. So, if you are blacksmithing. But if you're going to take Ret seriously, you will be blacksmithing.
Yeah, definitely. Anything to add, Meta, on Holy before we move over to Prot?
No.
All right, well, let's go. We'll move on to Prot, and Meta, I'll let you open, because obviously you did. You have tanked a small fraction compared to Cal, but that's why we'll let you kick off, and then Cal can fill in any gaps. So PvE, PvP, obviously. Let's just straight away rule out Prot Paladin in PvP. I think we can probably all agree on that. We don't really need to touch that. If you're probably PvPing as Prot, you're doing it wrong. So Paladin in PvE, Prot.
It did become a thing in Wrath of the Lich King, but that's a topic for a different day.
A different year.
Yeah, the Divine Plea. Yep.
But obviously, I would argue that Prot Pally is probably the best tank in TBC, well, best all-round tank. Just because I've been playing a Warlock recently and trying to do the corruption on any AoE damage with a warrior or a feral druid is just painful. And I'd rather much have a protection paladin than a group, because it just provides such great AoE threat. And even on like single target situations or against like a demon or undead target, they do like quite a lot of threat as well, because they can squeeze an exorcism. Because in TBC, exorcism is an instant cast. It became a casted ability in Wrath. So like paladins just have loads of great single target AoE threat as well. They can get to, I'm pretty sure, could correct me if I'm wrong about this, but I think they have an easier time not getting crushing blowed, because they can, obviously put Holy Shield, and if they, depending on like how many talent points you're putting improved in Holy Shield, I think you probably only need 1, maybe 2 if you're doing like loads of big, AoE pulls. But most of the time you will not lose like Holy Shield stacks, whereas like a warrior may lose shield block stacks. And they may get crushing blow, but I'm pretty sure a paladin's pretty safe from crushing blows. The only downside to a protection paladin against the warrior is just all those fat DPS cooldowns, which are really useful because obviously like stuff like shield wall. If you need to give your healers a break, you can just like tell your tank to pop shield wall, which is very useful. But obviously, a protection paladin can't do that.
Yeah, and just off the back of that, like what you were saying with, you know, a warlock trying to see the corruption, let's be fair as well, prop paladins do, not only do they bring, like, amazing threat when they're doing AoE pulls, but their damage is insane as well. You know, if you were to compare it to either of the other tanks, if you want to, well, I know for a fact Cal will agree that, you know, he hates running heroics or just 5-mans in general without a warlock as a prop paladin. I think you kicked off at me once, didn't you? Because I made a group and you tanked it and there was no warlock. You was like, what the fuck are you doing?
And, you know, you're like, well, I got friends. I'm like, we can help 2 friends, you know, and we can go over twice as fast. And then we can bring your 3rd friend and help him on a separate run. Like,
or just make new friends that are warlocks. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, warlocks are... I mean, I could get Crix in here telling you all about how good warlocks are, but they're just, that Seed of Corruption is a magical spell. The equivalent damage early on is like a fire mage, but they're in melee. They're trying to Dragon's Breath, they're trying to blast wave, and it's like they pull threat, they die. Like warlocks are afar, and they pull threat, then it's like I have time to taunt or bop them. But a battle mage in melee is just they can do a lot of damage, but they're high risk.
I mean, the lock can soul shatter as well, so they've even got that.
Yeah.
But no, that's cool. So, anything else to add, Meta, before we move on to Cal? Because I reckon he's then going to probably talk for a good hour and 15 minutes.
No, you can move on. Let's get ready for the raid anyway, so...
Come on in, Cal. Tell me about prop paladins in TBC.
Alright. There is a very... can you do prot in arena? No. Can you do prot ret in arena? Yeah. You can actually go down to the Reckoning tree. It's a very current, fun build. It's the 2 swords crossing. I think it's on tier 5.
Yep, I've got it up.
So you can go get that Reckoning ability. And now if you're with a shaman and you have Wind Fury Totem, you can do Seal of Command, Reckoning Wind Fury. It's like 4 attacks in 1. You do not have Crusader Strike in the ret tree, but the double or triple swing from the Reckoning is very fun. You can do really, really big damage. It's actually hilarious. So don't sleep on prot in arena. It's just not full prot. It's technically ret because you go further down the ret tree, but it's still it's a very, very fun build. And currently on Endless, there's a few ret paladins using it. It all depends on how well Reckoning will work in once it goes live.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, mate, to be fair, because when you actually look at the ret tree, I'm looking now thinking, like, well, what would you lose? All right, you're going to lose Crusader Strike. That's fine. Like, you know, that's not really a massive deal in Arena, I wouldn't say.
Crusader Strike burns a lot of mana, though, so it's not a bad thing to lose Crusader Strike. You're technically still an auto-attack class in TBC. You just every 6 seconds get Crusader Strike, and that's not even, like... It's good for PvE, but it's not game-breaking for PvP.
Yeah, really and then you're just going to lose the crit chance on your judgments. So it's not really. It's not. It's a good trade-off, isn't it?
But imagine this. Imagine if Reckoning procs and 2 Wind Furies proc with it. Okay, that's just 4 swings. Now, what happens if 3 of those 4 proc Seal of Command? What happens if all 4 proc? You're doing 12k damage in a swing. An auto swing, just dead. I'm not even like, okay, so now you have 4 attacks, you have 4 seals. I've seen videos, I have a video personally of me globaling a druid, but I've seen videos of somebody having all 8 of those abilities crit.
Fuck me, what's the probability? You're a gambling man. I mean, the probability of that is so low, but satisfying to see.
8 out of 8 critting, yeah. I mean, you're looking less than 5% if you're rolling. Like, I guess I could do the math on it, but it's low to get all 8 to crit, and that's assuming you're sitting at like 30% crit chance. Again, this is a down the prot tree. If you want to dabble in the prot in arena, it's really fun. It's RNG. You're rolling the dice every swing.
The thing is, and I'm not kidding, I'm being 100% serious, you're making me want to go and do a Paladin on TBC just to try that. Because I like that. I like luck-based.
Battlegrounds become... you got to find a shaman friend who will follow you around with Wind Fury, but you will one-shot people all the time as long as you have that reckoning. So you need to get hit. So if a hunter sends his pet on you, that's like super ideal. Or if a rogue's on you, you turn, and even if he's dodging, if you land the one attack, reckoning will automatically hit, and you could global him.
Well, I know they're already kicking off in chat, naming people. I mean, I know a shaman who will he would run around with me all day because that would be fun. But what? So all right. So PvP. That's good that you've clarified because I did say prot. Yeah, a no go. But like we're saying, it's rep prot. It's
correct. It technically is ret prot, but it is a little taste of prot in the arena scene.
Do you get enough? I'm going to go out on a limb and probably assume no because you've got no holy shield or anything. But could you competently tank dungeons?
With that spec, like some crazy hybrid prot ret spec.
Yeah.
I think you could. So like if I was gonna do prot ret, I'd go down to holy shield and then go to vengeance.
Right.
So I would go further down the prot tree and then I'd grab vengeance, which gives you 15% holy damage. But I currently already play a holy paladin to the sank aura because I'm a threat cannon. I mean, even in like the Shadow Labs we were running, even with that Warlock, I think I was beating him in damage. Now, granted, I was way more geared than them, but Paladins can do really, really strong threat.
Yeah, no, I like the idea of picking up Sankora. I'll be honest with you, I probably won't do it straight away in TBC. I'll probably do it once I'm kitted out a little bit. But
no, you will.
Really?
If TBC is going to be as easy, listen. If it's going to be anything like Classic, you'll be stacking spell power gems. I'm just saying, and you will. Because remember, a paladin can turn because of Pursuit of Justice next to Seal of Command in the ret tree. So tier 3 in the ret tree. Yep. Paladins at any point can run away from mobs. They can just be like, all right, we're turning the damage off. In a dungeon scenario. So either you'll have Frost Trap, Earthbind. Even if you don't, you can run away. you literally can, like a light switch, turn the damage off. You don't really... I mean, again, like you can see, like even in the Hygel in the background, if I'm getting, dumpstered on, I will start to run. If it means my health becomes more stable.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I suppose it also, even though prot is extremely strong, for like AoE farming and stuff like that, by going ret, I suppose you can, going down to sort of Sanctity, or at least, you can equip a two-hander and go around, grinding and killing stuff, and probably at a decent speed.
Yeah, it wouldn't be... Again, you want those big AoE pulls, because as prot, you're gonna... I choose to have Reckoning, and then if I need to get mana back, then I put on Seal of Wisdom, and then every 2 swings, I'm getting, 340 mana back, which is quite a bit. 348, excuse me.
All right, so now really dive into it. So, you've spoke about PvP, but PvE, how godlike really are prot paladins? Obviously, you've played one for years, so I'm assuming they're pretty fun to play as well.
You are at least 70% dungeon faster than the other 2 tanks. And I maybe 100%, maybe twice as fast. You have becoming uncrittable is easy because shield block rating scales so quickly. You have to get to like 105% avoidance. I don't have the number on the top of my head, but you have to have
2.
Yeah, thank you.
Something like that.
And shield block rating is super easy to get. There's a trinket out of Slave Pens, or Shattered Halls, excuse me, that also is best in slot for farming, called the Figurine of Colossus. Gives a bunch of shield block rating. So, very easy to get uncrushable. As long as Holy Shield is up. There's a badge Libram that gives you block rating while Holy Shield is active, and early on you will absolutely need that. So beyond that, like, you're the main tank currently on private servers. You're never the main tank, but you control the flow of trash. You control the flow of What happened to my mic? All right, you control the flow of like how fast things get done.
Have you played any of the other tanks in TBC?
Druid. I've played warrior, and I will have a warrior alt on TBC Classic, but I really prefer the druid. Just how easy it is to get them like raid ready. A few craftables, a few pieces of tier 4, and you can tank all of T5. I love how easy that is.
Yeah, definitely.
Late game druid threat is unmatched. It's way too much threat when they get into the tier 6.
So why Paladin main? You know, like if you sound quite passionate about feral tanks, would you not consider the switch?
No. Again, like when Paladin main comes into play, because let's say server's fresh, you know, either it's TBC Classic and people need their trials done or they need their Karazhan done. I can run groups and groups of people through dungeons, and I can carry a guild on my back as a prot paladin. If I'm active enough and I'm running dungeons, like currently, like we run ZAs, I just run a ZA on my main, I log off, get on my other prot paladin, he's a ret paladin, but he has a prot pally off spec, and I can literally run ZAs for my guild. And I can solo tank ZA. Like Is it
fun? Is it fun if you know all the paladins
it's
are
highly it's highly addictive because you're always trying to push it. Well, how can I go more spell power? Can I do more avoidance? Can I, what can I do next? And if you are a farmer, like currently everyone has a mage alt in Classic, everybody's gonna have a paladin alt for farming, 100%.
Yeah, and even boosting. They're pretty much going to be the go-to booster.
They don't have damage cap. Consecrated ground, or charred earth effect is what I like to call it, is there's no damage cap.
And didn't you like break a private server or something by pulling everything in LBRS or the Whelp room and UBR?
I did. So I ran a few circles on Endless TBC in Lower Blackrock Spire. And my computer froze, but when I reloaded in and the server went down for like 2 minutes, I had 440k DPS in TBC. Crashed the server, like one consecrate. It was funny.
That's
like
nuts.
I had to pan my camera down at the floor because if I turned and looked at the mobs, my computer would freeze. And when I dropped consecrate, my computer just locked up. But yes, it was kind of funny.
So what would you say are what important things would people need to know? If like me, I'm genuinely intrigued because I am going to be playing prot paladin. What are the key things that you think people need to know? I know that's quite a broad question.
No, it's like prot paladins are super easy, right? It's like keep Righteous Fury on. So shout out to one of my guys, Punzi, who when we have him tank, he never fucking remembers it. But keep Righteous Fury on, keep Consecrate on the ground. That's generically what you do. Now you have your taunts 3 targets, and you can only taunt them if they have a different target than you. You can't just taunt a mob that's targeting you because it won't work. So the mob has to be targeting somebody else in order for your taunt to work, which is kind of a unique thing, right? Because the bears and the warriors can just pop taunt and it'll just taunt the boss. So if why is this a problem is, let's say High King Mulgore, right? Like you do the pull and let's say 2 mobs are targeting the warrior tank and you're supposed to be tanking one of them. If you go and taunt off the warrior or the druid that's tanking High King Mulgore, you will taunt High King Mulgore as well. You can't control who you taunt. You're taunting 3 mobs.
So what's the range though? I mean, I know you probably don't have to be careful with what you're doing, but
that's the fact that it has a range is amazing. The range is 40 yards, which is a ranged taunt it's godly. That's why I like warlocks.
Sorry, I think Meta's just dropped off, but we'll carry on. just having some problems apparently. But anyway, so what about key talents? So what do we need to know? You know, what's changed? A taunt is the main thing that I can think of, really. You know, but what else has changed? You know, that's made them so viable? Because obviously, currently, you can tank in Classic, but you're going to be laughed at.
Correct. You get Avenger Shield. You get Ardent Defender if you choose to go it, but not too much has changed in the Holy Shield. In the prot tree, they add some stacks to Holy Shield, which is nice. They kind of buff your utility kit with Blessing of Protection, or I think that's actually in Classic, but regardless, you get multiple stamina talents. Like you get combat expertise, you get Sacred Duty. Paladins, I think, have the most stamina % talents added in TBC.
Yeah, so you get 6% just from Sacred Duty, you know, which is nice.
And
obviously
then one of the second to last tier, you get combat expertise, which is 10 more.
Yeah, that's a crazy amount from talent. So go on.
They really slap some stamina on the Paladin to kind of catch them up, on top of them already being really, really good at threat.
I suppose the other good thing as well is Consecrate no longer actually is a talent, is it? So just everybody gets
Correct.
it.
Yeah, it's baseline.
Yeah, I mean,
Yep.
looking through the talents in I mean, Holy Shield, you know, the improved Holy Shield is really, really strong. So obviously increasing the damage caused and the amount of charges by 4 with both points in. Is there any other baseline abilities that have been added? You know, so obviously you get your Taunt, which is going to be interesting actually, because I was thinking, we were talking about this on the stream recently, that obviously you're going to get that in the pre-patch. So when we're in a pre-patch state between, you know, vanilla and TBC, you might actually start seeing Paladins even in you know, level 60 content starting to tank more.
Yeah, as long as they have technically the spell power to do it in vanilla, which, you know, with a few of the weapons and things like that, they could probably pull it off.
Yeah, definitely. So what is there any specific sort of raids or bosses where, you know, like for example, just going early on, you know, doing like Ilhoof, for example, or even Aran without Warlocks can be difficult. Is there anywhere where you think a specific boss encounter just you need a prop Paladin just to make it work?
Not necessarily. Now, prop paladins in Karazhan are really good. You know, Exorcism becomes instant cast, and with everything in there being undead, it's nice to have extra threat. So something like the first boss, Morose, right? Yeah, you're tanking him. Horsey goes down to 20%. He mounts up. Right when he mounts up, it's a brand new threat table. Exorcism, immediate snap threat, really good. Assuming you don't have the curse on you, you can Exorcism, Judge Righteous, you know, and then you've got good start threat. That's a good one. Morose is the Paladin tank fight for me. I tank them all together, even on a buff server. So I get close enough, pop off a Holy Wrath, and then I just have my raid AoE them down. And if I don't have AoE, we're still cleaving them down as best we can.
Yeah,
So
which that just makes it crazy easy.
Yeah, so Morose, I guess, out of early on would be the best fight. But then again, like Meg Therodon's Lair, tanking 2 of the Chandlers, like if you have not the first kill target, but if you have the second and third as a prop pally, you'll have enough threat where they, by the time they get to X, they can full cleave and not worry about pulling threat.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's another 25-man one. In Gruul's Lair, I tank the Priest and I tank the Warlock. Now, the Priest is kill target on pull, but that's where the Mr. X come in handy. Because I know I have to dump good amount of threat into X, so I need those Mr. X to compensate for the threat I'm not going to have on the Priest.
Yeah.
And tanking Gruul as a prop paladin, early on, really not a good idea. But when you get at least tier 5 geared, I think you'd have no problem. Again, if TBC is going to be super easy,
Yeah, then it's just
You'll
not
always
gonna matter, is it?
you always want a main tank rule as a prop paladin though. You can't off tank it. You need to be getting hit to get mana back. If you lose threat as a prop paladin, you're done.
Do you have many mana issues?
Early on, you do. You need to really be taking damage to get a lot of mana back. Once you get into the tier 6 range, no. Like, you can watch my video in the background of me and Hyjal, how much damage I'm taking, plus the tier 6 bonus. My mana literally stays at 100% once you get into the later game.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Now, the dungeon set, early on as a prop paladin, Righteous, really, really good. Gives you cooldown reduction on your taunt and reduces the mana cost of your consecrate. It's a very, very, very strong dungeon set for prop heli, and it's super easy to get. That's the best part about it.
Yeah,
super
and
easy.
You get obviously you get your defensive stats, but if I remember rightly, it's also got quite a lot of spell damage on as well, isn't it?
It does. Yup. It just has stam, int, defense rating, and spell power. Like, just the beautiful starter. Doesn't have dodge or anything like that, or shield block, but it's good enough to get you into Kara, and you'll do very well.
Is that then going to be replaced by tier 4 though?
Yes, but I use Righteous up until I use 2-piece T4 and specifically only 2 of the items. So I don't even go after gloves. I don't even go after helm or legs, excuse me. So legs. I try to use shoulders and chest. I try to. The shoulders are itemized better than any other class in tier 4 for prop paladin, and I mean any other class. They got spell power, they got shield block rating, they got defense rating, and one other. They literally have 4 equipped plus 2 sockets. Like, it's itemized better than tier 5. And
So,
then I would use the chest off Meg Theridon.
what's the 2-piece? Why are you going for the 2-piece tier 4?
Because it gives you 10% damage on Seal of Righteous, Seal of Blood, Seal of Vengeance. So it gives you 10% damage, single target.
So just more threat.
More threat. You know it.
Cool. Welcome back, Matt. Anything to add? I appreciate you missed a couple of minutes there, but we're going to move on to Ret. So anything to add regarding prop? Would you play a prop paladin as a main in TBC? Your mic's muted. Let him just.
I think because I was on push to talk. I think because I've already done it, I wouldn't do it again. But I think it's a good all option. The only thing that I probably the only small thing I don't like about Paladin is just not having a ranged taunt. Well, obviously you do have a ranged taunt, but you can't use it to pull mobs. Become kind of difficult if you do not want that movement speed reduction on the Avenger's Shield. But apart from that, like, it's one of my favorite classes to play.
Yeah, I'm hoping I'm going to enjoy it.
There are 2 builds for prop paladin. Like, early on, you can go Avenger Shield, which is really good for 5-mans. And if you're an Alliance paladin, if you don't have Avenger Shield, you have no range pull unless they're undead. So you need to kind of know how to pull stuff, or let somebody else pull for you.
Yeah, which there's going to be a lot of hunters around, isn't there? So.
Yeah, there's going to be a plethora of them as well.
Definitely. All right, so prop overall, just brief recap. Yep, absolutely amazing. Every guild's going to want a prop paladin. We've
every player is going to want a prop paladin.
Every player, yeah.
I mean, and the way of this, right? Like, look how people are farming gold currently in Classic. They get a mage, they run into a dungeon, and they run it by themselves. They don't have to battle people out in the world. They don't have to fight over anything. Prop paladin's going to be the same way. Because you can make 500 gold an hour raw in some dungeons, just vendoring every single thing. And that's how people will probably pay for consumables.
So what can you solo, up to, what can you comfortably solo?
Once I'm 70 with decent gear, I can go all the way to Ramparts in TBC. I can do Ramparts solo.
Yeah, I mean, that is pretty crazy.
Every single thing. I have I'm running a guide on how to boost where paladins can't do any damage, right? You don't want to tag the mob, so you just have to eat the raw damage. You can't use sanctuary, you can't use red aura, so like I pulled everything. I tried to find like the hardest dungeon, Maradon, and I'm talking both sides in Mara. I'm talking like a 30-minute run, straight run. Now the lashers in Maradon that stun you get very annoying. So maybe like free action potions. Or you can just avoid some of those annoying dungeons. But there wasn't a single dungeon I couldn't pull in one pull.
Well, I think it'll be easier in a classic TBC anyway, because you will be able to tag the mobs, because it's actually, which I found out recently, don't quote me on it, I've not seen any sources, but I was told on the stream that boosting is absolutely fine. But if you leave the group on a live server to tag the mobs, then apparently it's bannable. As I say, I don't know how true that is, but
not sure. So what I would do is like usually how a boost normally goes, which I boosted your hunter on endless. I pull the whole dungeon, you throw a dynamite, I leave group prior to that, and then you get full experience for every elite versus currently on vanilla or classic TBC. Classic, excuse me. A mage just AoEs it down and the XP is shared.
Yeah, so that's how I think it will probably be. I think the XP will be shared. But yeah, I mean, on Endless, yeah, you can level crazy fast by just, tagging and then letting the Paladin kill everything.
Yeah, I mean, we got you from... I don't remember. We got you to Outlands in like a few hours, like total.
It was incredibly quick, yeah. All right, so let's move on to Ret. So prot, definitely in a good place if you plan on playing a prot Paladin. And I think, I don't want to say the majority of the player base who play Paladins are going to go prot, but I think we are going to see a lot of them, which is good. That's good for everybody. It's good for the community because, you want more tanks readily available for when you're doing your pre-bis gearing and stuff, for dungeons. So I don't see it being a bad thing. I think we'll see a lot of prot warriors possibly go over to being a paladin as well. As I say, I wouldn't have, in a million years, I wouldn't have said that I was going to go paladin. I don't know, well, I do know where it come from. Obviously, we wanted one for the guild. But it's, I'm going to love it. I'm enjoying it on Classic already. And, I've done a few boosts and stuff like that. It's fun. Meta, have you got anything to add on prot, or are we good to move over to Ret? And you're not pushing your button down again.
You can move on, sorry.
Cool. All right, so Ret. Now, I'll kick this one off just briefly. My experience of Ret Paladin, I've played a lot of Ret in Classic, and not just Classic, actually back in Vanilla, because long story short, you all know how bad I am at leveling. I hate leveling. It just takes too long. I can't be bothered. So I was actually halfway through leveling my Druid in Vanilla, and my brother was already 60 on a Paladin, got bored and quit. So I took over his Paladin account and raided basically everything up to 4 Horsemen in Nax on a Paladin, and a lot of it I spent time as Ret. I love Ret. Like, absolutely, I love it even more in TBC, obviously, just because of the additions, that you get, like Crusader Strike. It's an amazing spec if you're a gambler, and it's the same. It's the only reason in retail, I haven't played retail for quite a while, but that's why I like the Outlaw Rogue, because I like, roll the bones or whatever it's called, where you might get one buff, you might get all the buffs, you might get something you don't want. I like that RNG. I think when you've got an RNG class like a Ret Paladin, where you're just praying for a big Seal of Command proc, or if you're Blood Elf, you're obviously going to be using Seal of Blood, but I'm Alliance, so probably not going to get that. It's fun. I like the one boss you might do 800 DPS, another boss you'll get really really lucky and end up doing like 1.4k or something. The gap can be that big just based on luck. And that's me. That's my, I enjoy that playstyle, even though others probably don't. But so from a PvE perspective, we'll talk about PvP afterwards. But from a PvE perspective, Cal, do you want one Ret Paladin? Do you want none? Do you want two? Like, do they bring anything more than just that 3% crit?
They, honestly, I'll put it this way: So, what's your top DPS in TBC? What class?
Well, warlock or hunter.
Okay, so ideally it's hunter. That Crusader Strike, if you read the tooltip, or this is why bringing 3 paladins is also super nice. Crusader Strike refreshes seals, so a Holy Paladin only has to judge seal once, and as long as the Ret Pally stays alive, it refreshes all seals. Seal of Wisdom for hunters is a godly DPS increase. Not even the 3% crit. It's actually the wisdom is more important for our DPS as long as hunters have wisdom. Justice of, or Seal of Wisdom. Judgment of Wisdom, Jiao, as we call it. But
so then, and then who's going to be doing that? I'm assuming the prop paladin's probably going to be doing wisdom. The ret's going to be doing Crusader, yeah.
And then Holy Paladin's doing light. Now there's things that come into play. There's Librams you can swap on and off for extra holy damage. Paladins, if they have the Illidan Mace, sometimes the Seal of Light procs off of Judgment of Light, which is again late game because of the weapon. But there's a lot of different things that can come into play. Ret Pallies are very crucial. If your prop pally is doing the safe prop pally build where they don't have Sank Aura, they buff the prop pally's damage by 10%. They are an RNG class. Like, of course, Horde Paladins are going to be the most viable DPS because Seal of Blood is broken, as in fairness. It's way better for Ret than Seal of Vengeance. And it's like, why? Well, it procs every swing. Every time you Crusader Strike, every time you Wind Fury, it procs. It does damage to the Paladin. It also then, when the Paladin loses health and gets healed, the Paladin gains mana. So it's like all around Horde. If you want to be Ret and you're going to take it seriously, you need to be Horde. But that's not to say you can have good pulls. Seal of Command hits harder than Seal of Blood, but it's a chance. It's, you know, you like to gamble, there you go.
So what about, I know we're talking about Ret, but just out of interest, so is Seal of Blood the go-to as well, even if you're a Protection Paladin, or will you be using Righteousness?
No, Seal of Righteousness scales with spell power, whereas Seal of Blood does not. So you're going to go Righteous or Seal of Vengeance. Like, as prop pally, Seal of Vengeance is good, but as Horde, you're using Seal of Righteous the whole way.
So what in the versus Righteousness? So as a Horde, like you say, you're going to have to use Righteousness. Then that's fine. So as an alliance, have you got a threat increase single target because of Vengeance? Is Vengeance like the broken seal for Protection Paladins, and Seal of Blood's the broken one for Ret, or does it not make that much difference?
Seal of Vengeance is really good once it's stacked. But even I'm pretty sure Alliance Paladins on pull are going to use Seal of Righteous just for snap threat, and then they'll put on Seal of Vengeance. And no, it's not crazy better like Seal of Blood is. It's all right.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen numbers around Seal of Blood. These are untested numbers by me, obviously. You know, where people are saying, like, Seal of Blood versus Seal of Command, you know, the Horde are going to be doing, like, 22, 23% more damage, which is a ridiculous amount.
It's a lot, because it's not only does it do more damage in the aspect of, you know, getting a nice two-hander that's pretty fast, but the problem is, like, a Horde Paladin is still going to Seal Twist, if possible. They're still going to be using Seal of Command and Seal of Blood. And Alliance won't have that option.
So meta, obviously, you know, you do a lot of YouTube content around, you know, what we think is going to happen here, there, and everywhere. You know, what do you hope that Blizzard just give both factions both seals, or how do you think they're going to do it? When you push your button down to talk,
I don't think that should happen. I don't think it should give Alliance Paladins Seal of Blood. To be honest, I just think it would just be too much of a big change.
Yeah, I don't think they will, but I think they should consider.
Well, yeah. I mean, how are you going to balance? How are you going to balance the ratio? I don't know how they're going to.
Yeah, which they probably won't. I mean, it was a video that I put out a couple of days ago. I was talking about, how Blood Elves and Draenei should be launched. And a part of that, everybody has got their own opinion on it. They should come when the Dark Portal opens. There's pros and cons for doing that or releasing them in the pre-patch. But unless they was to lock the raids for 2 weeks, which we know they're not going to do that, the Horde have got a massively unfair advantage from the word go because they've got shamans. And ultimately, I think shamans are a requirement for raids, whereas paladins, you want them, obviously, like you've said, you want 3, you want the blessings, but given the choice between one or the other, I'd probably take a shaman.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So I can see, the Horde definitely just having an unfair advantage if you don't get that opportunity to level up the shamans and paladins before the portal opens. But yeah, that's a different topic. So what is there any big changes in DrKael that makes them, because they are considered a bit of a meme spec, obviously, in Classic. What's making them, obviously, like you've said about Crusader Strike, refreshing blessings. Is there anything else why now they can you compete on the damage meters?
Yeah, you can. You're not top tier, but you become more viable. They fix a lot of the mana issues with Ret, just like they do Enhance. Those hybrid DPS. I think it's called, what is it? Sanctified Judgment. It's next to Vengeance. Returns mana to the Paladin every time they judge. They really fix a lot of their mana issues. A lot of their spells are, less mana, things like that. But again, like I couldn't stress, they're still technically an auto attack class. You get Crusader Strike. Your rotation is keep Judgment on cooldown with Crusader Strike. Consecrate if you can afford the mana, or Seal Twist. Seal Twisting is kind of mana intensive as well, but it can do a lot of damage.
So are you, when you say they've fixed mana, fixed some of the mana issues, can you afford to use haste pots, or do you still need to be using mana pots?
You're going to use haste potion with your wings, which is your DPS cooldown, Avenging Wrath, right? I guess we forgot about that ability when we said what else was baseline. So they get a really cool DPS cooldown called Avenging Wrath. You use a haste pot with that, and then in between you try to probably use mana pot, or you're sucking dark runes or demonic runes, on cooldown.
Yeah, and speaking about Avenging Wrath, I mean, obviously that's good for even prot, isn't it? For a just threat increase.
It's amazing.
It gives you forbearance, though, doesn't it? So you wouldn't then be able to.
It does. Yep. So you can't bubble, but if you're technically tanking, if you have to bubble, you're in trouble anyways. The only time you wouldn't pop wings is like if you're gonna cancel aura your bubble. Like if you're solo tanking ZA and the bear boss puts mangle on you, and when he goes into bear phase, you need to get rid of that mangle, so you cancel aura. And then great, you're now tanking and don't have the debuff. So works on blood.
Does that actually? Do you maintain all your threat as well when you?
Yeah, as long as you have the macro set up, bubble tech it, like you barely even. It's like a split second. Like literally, it's less than a global. It doesn't drop your threat to 0. It's not a threat reset. It just goes to the next person, and so if you hit the cancel or a macro and you judge or something right after it, your threat stays the same.
Yeah, so again, that's a really good use, a good ability to be able to, like you say, solo tank certain bosses, or if the off tank dies and you need to reset a debuff or whatever, yes.
It's really, really strong. I mean, every spec paladin should have cancel or a bubble for certain things.
Yeah, definitely.
Because like if a prop paladin who's in bubble, they don't have an attack speed because of Sacred Duty. They don't have a 100% reduced attack speed like Ret and Holy does. So if a Ret Pally uses it just to break a debuff or something, you don't want to sit in bubble because you attack 100% slower.
Yeah.
While in Divine Shield.
Yeah, that makes sense. Have you had much, remember to push your button down, have you had much experience as rep meta?
Yeah, I played a little bit of it on Endless. I mean, obviously a lot's been said. The only thing I could really add is like a little tip. Like if you're in a situation, for instance, when on Gruels, when you have to move away from the boss on Shatter, what I used to do is used to drop like a little Consecration if I had the mana to do it. So like Consecration will continue to do like a little bit of damage even though I'm not in melee range, and you know, just to push my damage like up a little bit further. But only if I had the mana to do it. Like I wouldn't spam it for the entire fight, and I probably only use it when I've got like a trinket cooldown popped or something like that.
Yeah.
Rep Pallies are notorious for taking extra damage. They want to take damage because they get mana back. So if you're a healing Gruul's Lair and you look over and you see a Paladin standing in Cave-In, he's probably intentionally doing that.
Yeah, much like you blowing me up on Aran.
He wants, exactly, like he wants he wants the buff. Like he wants to he's just trying to soak damage to then get healed to get mana back so he can consecrate or seal twist more.
But is that a good thing? Is that a playstyle you would encourage?
On farm content, yes. On progression, absolutely not. Here's the way I put it. A Rep Pally can take all the damage he wants, but if he dies, it's on him. I'm not going to blame my healers. He better know, like on Archimond, I'll dip into the fire, but the only time I dip into the fire is if I have bubble up just in case I don't get heals as fast as I'd like.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I know some of our Paladins, Blast or Punzi, we because occasionally we'll run 3 Rep Paladins on Archimond rather than subbing people in and out. We know how much damage we should take and how much mana we're going to get back, and is it worth it?
So what about a PvP perspective? How strong are Rep Paladins in PvP, Cal?
They're super fun. Probably, again, you're fishing for those big... because in PvP, Paladins, I'll use Seal of Command, so that technically it's a level playing field. Sometimes I'll use Seal of Blood. Seal of Blood is way better, because if you know you're going to get polymorphed, right? A mage is casting polymorph. If you judge blood right as his polymorph goes off, you'll break sheep immediately.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy.
It's dumb strong. And if you're that case, right, so we know you're Blood Elf, you also have Arcane Torrent as a silence. Like, again, why to be Horde,
Yeah, it's very balanced. I like how balanced it is.
Whereas cows or goats get their nice heal over time that they have to hard cast.
Yeah, and does very little.
Yes.
You can only use it if you're going to like precast it. Like, for instance, like when Nightbane goes up and up, I used to precast Gift of Anari just before Nightbane comes back down. That's literally the only little time that you can use it.
It's not bad as like a prop paladin on Alliance, right? Like if you get the opportunity to cast that heal off, that's holy damage or holy, like healing in general from a holy spell, which is Righteous Furies giving it threat. There are cases where you'll use it. If I'm playing an Alliance paladin, I'm going to be the team player that's playing DrKael because I'm bringing the 1% hit to my party. I'm not going to be playing the better human race. Humans with the sword expertise, sword and mace expertise, which is really nice, but I'm still going for the 1% hit.
Yeah, it's quite interesting as well, actually, bringing up Nightbane. I appreciate this is a little bit off topic, but obviously, if we was at a pre-nerfed Nightbane state, Paladins are actually incredibly strong there, aren't they? Because
they're needed. They're not strong. They're absolutely needed.
Yeah, so for anyone who doesn't know, obviously a pre-nerfed Nightbane state basically means that the ads only take physical and holy damage. Which what does a paladin do? Ret and even holy. Having your holy paladin, if mana, they can afford to go in and drop a consecrate or do a holy wrath or something like that. It's pretty strong. But I'm being told that that's not pre-nerf. It was apparently a bug.
No, it's why holy water was a thing. I'm pretty sure that's pre-nerf.
Yeah, I do remember holy water, not even on private servers. Back in the day, people were using it, but
I'm not disagreeing with that, but at least this is the way I've seen it. I've seen it on 3 different private servers. and I don't know why they all would have been that way. Right? If they're all, you know, looking for as original as possible, but that's not to say those three could have been wrong and they all copied each other.
Yeah, very possible.
It does make the fight more interesting. It definitely more difficult for sure. Having to bring holy water from Strathome, or, you know, 2 paladins for holy wrath, or stacking some more physical damage, which if it's pre-nerf, or that's the state those the damage those skeletons or those skeletons do, you pretty much want hunters, because rogues or any type of melee is just going to get burned alive standing next to them.
Yeah, well, obviously, I want the the information on it to be accurate. So, just what so Spanish Fireman in the Twitch chat saying that patch 2.0.10, Nightbane's restless skeletons are now immune to non-holy magical damage, reverted in a hotfix several hours after the patch. So, maybe it was, technically, it's still technically a pre-nerf state, because they still made the fight easier, whether it was an hour or a year afterwards, you know what I mean? So obviously, yeah, these private servers have probably looked for the hardest iteration of the fight, which will be that. Which the only thing I don't like about it, I like it being difficult, and I like that. I would prefer it in that state, actually. I would prefer it so it was just holy and physical. But it does really make it difficult to make a full Karazhan clear group. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
That's the only thing where you might like do all of the bosses except for Nightbane, and then switch people in just to do that boss.
Well, that's exactly what it does. It takes Nightbane off the table for any type of casual-esque type Karazhan.
Yeah.
And again, most of your diehard TBC players, or people that really like TBC, they're never shy to do some buffed content when it comes out. Now there's over the top, but then like that Nightbane fix is just like, all right, you either need to bring a good prop paladin, or you need like 2 hunters, which won't be bad, won't be hard to find once it goes live. But again, if it's not, I doubt that'll be the scenario. They'll probably be 100% magic damageable.
Yeah, I would agree. So just briefly, in case there's anything we missed, so talking just overall Paladin, looking at the new abilities that are added in TBC. So we'll forget the end talents, because we've sort of briefly touched on all of those anyway as we've gone through the specs. But the ones that you get, so spiritual attunement, which you get 66. So gives a paladin mana when healed by other friendly targets. The amount of mana gained is equal to 10% of the amount healed. I mean, I think that's a welcome change, isn't it, across all the specs. But it's quite interesting, really, because you don't really think of it from a holy perspective. I know if you're a holy paladin, you shouldn't really be taking damage, or not taking that much damage.
Yeah, but it allows them, same reason, like if they know they're getting hurt on mana or something, and they know they can cheese a little damage and let their healers heal them, then of course it's a way for them to get mana back. On Kazergal and Hyjal, like if our paladins, at this rate they don't, but early on, like if they need to stand in melee range and get stomped and then healed from chain heals, it does give them a substantial mana back. It hurts their HPS, but again, it's not the best thing to do, but it's always an option as a paladin. Like, where can I take some damage to get some more mana back?
No, that makes sense. And I mean, the only other one really, we've spoke about Vengeance and Blood, and the massive difference between the two. We've spoke about Avenging Wrath. The only one we haven't touched on is Crusader Aura, which is, I appreciate, neither here nor there really. It's just a nice, so it increases your mount speed by 20% for all parties. I mean, not really the most exciting ability, but still worth mentioning.
It's mainly useful for a flying mount, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because the flying mount's such a crap speed, and then when you have that 20%, it's actually quite nice.
Yeah, and there's actually
nice when you have Ashes of Alar too.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's actually one place in particular where I can actually think that it's quite useful, and I appreciate it's a bit of a strange one, but obviously you get this at 64, so you're going to get it before you go into Nagrand. But the egg quest, where you have to get up on top of the nest, jumping up and down on that trampoline, which is absolutely infuriating, such an awful quest to do. If you're actually a paladin with Crusader Aura, you can run and jump off of the cliff and land on the nest. Just it cheeses it, obviously, but it just makes it nice and easy.
Oh yeah,
I'm gonna remember that one.
I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't even bother doing that quest without a paladin with Crusader Aura in the party, because it just annoys me.
I just beg for a slow fall or a levitate.
Yeah. All right, so we've covered all the specs: PvE, PvP viability. Obviously, you know, Ret in PvP is strong, and it can be really fun if you go down into Reckoning with certain setups. I mean, what would you say, Cal, to anyone who doesn't want to do the Reckoning build, you know, they want to just go full Ret with Crusader Strike, you know, are you now looking for a healer partner, you know, in 2s and 3s, or?
Yeah, Ret, just like in PvE, Ret's almost always gonna want a shaman for like big burst damage. If not, you're gonna want to do double DPS. So Ret Mage is good, Ret Rogue is good. You're bursty, and you have bubble to survive on. So in 3s, you'll probably want a shaman, but you could probably do Ret Hunter Priest. I think would be decent. Double dispels, defensive dispels is always good. In 5s though, you'll see a lot more Rets where you're running like a cleave team, like enhanced Ret arms and then double healer. You know, Rets, you really don't need arena rating for PvP weapons because you'll have the craftables. So blacksmithing is a borderline must for Ret.
Yeah, as with most melee classes.
Yeah, it's really good for Prot too. They get some really nice craftable boots once Key 5 is out. So
yeah, it's an interesting point. So as Ret, you're probably going to be leather working blacksmithing, I would guess, for a hardcore PvE.
PvE wise, the goggles are really good, right? Engineering and leatherworking don't vibe well together because the bombs and drums share cooldowns. So pick one or the other. But by the time you get to late game, you'll probably want leatherworking. It's just with how easy TBC will be, it probably won't be as viable as it is on private servers.
And what about protection? I mean, well, we might as well do all the specs. So protection, I'm assuming probably engineering, blacksmithing.
I veer away from engineering as a prop pally. I do blacksmithing because my off spec is Ret, so it's really nice to have a strong weapon, and then I get the bonus of having blacksmithing for the protection boots, which drop out of SSC. Now, enchanting technically would be best in slot for the ring enchants. 24 spell power is really nice. Engineering is still really, really good. Trinkets are good for stam. Goggles are awesome. But like hit rating on a prop heli is like it's meh. I really don't even like it.
And on the basis, like looking at, obviously you was on the interactive video we done where we was looking at group comp. So on the basis your prop paladin's probably not going to be in a group with any DPS or many DPS, depending on what your comp is. I'm assuming level working's probably not needed that much because all you're going to do is give the haste to the healers, which, don't get me wrong, it's probably still nice.
You can give haste or restoration drums depending on group. The restoration drums are nice too.
So would you potentially go level working with blacksmithing as a sort of main prop paladin?
Yeah, but I always do jewel crafting. I think jewel crafting is really nice. It's nice to have a guild jewel crafter as well, like being the solid go-to JC. And it's not as taxing on a prop heli as it is for some other classes. They got some nice trinkets, and then the trinkets get really strong in Sunwell, technically. But again, if you want to get those trinkets, you can drop jewel crafting after you craft them, which is really cool. If you're really diehard min-maxing, you can craft the trinkets, then drop the profession.
Yeah. No, that's interesting because that's helping me, and I'm being serious. As in, I've been on the fence on what professions to do on my paladin in TBC. I know I'm definitely going to do blacksmithing, but I was going to go blacksmithing engineering. But yeah, I may go blacksmithing jewel crafting.
Yeah, I mean, again, enchanting is probably the best because if you are farming, right, and you're AoEing stuff down, it's nice to have enchanting on you, so you can just crush down all your greens and things you get.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
On top of doing more spell, having spell power on your rings is really, really strong.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I usually go JC, but come TBC, I'll probably do blacksmithing and enchanting. Probably. We'll see.
Yeah.
I don't ever get a gathering profession because I can just farm all the dungeons and buy my materials.
So you're playing Horde on Classic, I assume?
Yes. Yep.
Are you going to stay Horde and just start a Blood Elf Paladin from 1?
Yep. Rush it right down the pipe. I'm looking for a fresh server too. I'm not all about the speed meta. I'm more about just playing with friends.
Yeah.
Having a good time. I'll probably run 2 groups, split raids, but it'll be more for fun than it'd be anything else. I gotta try to get milk in my guild. See if he comes and plays. That troll.
I'll let you take him.
Yeah. No. I said I'd give him a shout out, so I might as well do it.
Yeah, exactly. Meta, what professions would you go on your Paladin?
Personally, I would just go for money-making professions, because like we said, some professions are pretty mandatory for other classes and other specs, but for prep palettes, I would just go for gold-making ones, especially enchanting, because you can just disenchant over your loot from other dungeon farms.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you. I am getting swayed. Enchanting does really make sense.
Enchanting is the ultimate play, man. It's even good for red. It's really good for holy. It's all around the best. It's just I hate enchanting, but I know it's best.
Yeah, I'm the same. But it is good, I suppose. As you as the guild leader, to have be able to get the recipes when they drop as well, the enchanting recipes, and know they're going to stay in the guild. There's got to be a bonus.
Correct. Yeah, that or even I don't think I'm used to private servers where JC patterns are annoying and expensive, but I don't think that's going to be a problem on TBC Classic.
Yeah.
Though come Hygel, one of your raiders has to be JC to get those cuts. And again, maybe the Holy Paladin. One of those weird off-spec classes. Everybody wants to be min-max, but you're still going to need a miner, right? Somebody in Hygel still has to go mine the gems. So if you don't have a core raider that has mining, you're going to have to attune an alt or something that has mining.
That's a good point, yeah.
We made our main tank go get mining just to get the gems. We did what we had to for the first week.
Yeah, that's again something that I'm not even.
You're not gonna leave epic gems on the ground. They're too good.
You've caused a bit of a stir in chat though, Cal, because Ruse was going to be the guild enchanter, and now he's saying he wants to fight me for who's going to be the guild enchanter. So I think I'll let him have it. He's a beast, I'd imagine. So. Oh,
guild enchanters, they need to really sit down. There's some enchanting patterns where if the drop rate is scuffed, right? I've been playing a lot of private servers. I know farming the 40 spell power to weapon, or going to farm agility to boots and Auk or Crypts or something heroic. There's some of those dungeons that you have to run every day, and if you're gonna be the guild enchanter, you better have every enchant.
Yeah, definitely.
Looking into tier 5, you're gonna need nature resist to cloak, so you're gonna be farming vanilla content to get that one. So there's definitely some downsides to being the guild profession.
Yeah, luckily Ruse he is dedicated. He will go and get them all. So it's probably in safer hands being in his than mine, to be fair. But so what we normally do right at the end is just now talk about some items that you're going to want to get fast, and let's focus on prop. And Cal, I'm going to let you kick off because I just need to run away for 2 secs. So obviously Meta and Cal, just keep it going. But yeah, the items that you're going to want to get quick as a prop paladin.
Yep. Figure into the Colossus. It's your bread and butter. You absolutely need it. It should be your first trinket you run for. It's a trinket that drops in Shattered Halls, normal or heroic, and every time you block, it heals you for 120. And if on classic TBC, if it scales with spell power, it'll be hilarious, but it should not. But of course, there's always some bugs that'll happen for a week or two. Out of Karazhan, the Morose's Lucky Pocket Watch is a god tier trinket for any tank. You can JC trinkets, you can engineering trinkets. Those are always good. Some profession made trinkets. The shield block value trinket off Badge Vendor is meh. It's good for some scenarios, but for the most part, stam stacking is way better. If Dark Moon cards are out and available, Dark Moon card Vengeance is a 51 stam trinket and procs holy damage on hit, or when you take damage, has a chance to. It's really good.
I love that trinket. Absolutely.
Yep.
I really want that trinket.
It's really good for tanking. Dark Moon card Crusade technically is best in slot for farming. You know, it's 80 spell power. And it insta stacks to 10 stacks on a consecrate.
Oh, does it really?
Yeah, because it hits every mob. It's expensive. Like, it's die hard, try hard farming. If you get that trinket.
And I assume you've already mentioned, to dart away for a sec, but I assume you've already mentioned the Righteous set.
Yep. As a prop pally, getting that Righteous set is really awesome. It's super easy. It's like Botanica, Mech. I think one drops in Black Morass. Gloves drop in. I know Steamvaults has one or two of them as well. They're easy dungeons. Shattered Halls isn't bad as a prop pally either. It's super easy where the other tanks hate it. You pretty much have an easy time.
I wouldn't want to go Shattered Halls without a prop paladin.
Yeah, I know. As a prop pally, once you get that 2-piece and 4-piece Righteous, don't get used to taunt being 2 seconds faster. It's super nice, but it's super annoying when you first drop it. It feels like it 10 seconds longer. But
so what about weapon wise, Cal? I mean, because you've got 2 choices really, aren't you? When if you go for reputation,
you have one. You have one choice.
You're going Continuum Blade.
Yeah, you got to go Continuum Blade. One Black Morass run and you have it. 30 stam, 121 spell power. It really can't be beat. Even if you go Thrallmar or Honor Hold Weapon. Now granted, you gain like 39 spell power, but you lose like 15 stamina, you lose spell hit rating, which is decent for prop pally. It's not wasted.
Is that the lower city one you're talking about? Not Gavel of Unearthed Secrets.
Yeah, even Gavel or the Thrallmar sword, both technically the same to me. I don't really care.
Gavel, you lose less stamina, I think. It has a bit more stamina.
They're both.
Yeah, you lose a bit less.
Your best in slot is Gladiator's Gavel, though, because resilience on it's nice too.
Yeah, and I suppose really with Continuum Blade as well, really thinking about it, it's 1.8 speed, so it's nice and quick as well. And I'm assuming that's going to help, you know, as in getting, like, if your Alliance, getting your Seal of Vengeance stacks up.
Well, it's actually, well, I don't know, like, you can probably correct me on this, but I think, like, a slower weapon has an increased chance to proc it. I always found that, because I used to Seal Twist, Seal of Vengeance, and Seal of Righteousness, so, like, I would get Seal of Vengeance maxed out, and when it has about 6 to 7 seconds left, I'd swap to back to Seal of Vengeance to keep the stacks going. And I struggle to do it with a fast weapon, but like with some reason with a slow weapon, I found it procs more.
I don't know, Cal. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so Seal of Vengeance, yes, would proc more with a slower weapon. Again, me being Horde, I'm not really gonna ever concern myself. Faster weapon for more Seal of Righteous hits, anyways. But again, that's situational to which faction.
Yeah.
And even then, I'm telling you this, I would rather use Continuum Blade currently on my private servers. I'll use Continuum Blade over those 2 epic weapons, just for the stamina.
What would you replace it with?
The Gladiator's weapon, or wait for tier 5 sword. You know. Technically, or maybe a Gruul sword if no casters need it. But again, I really push for the Gladiator's weapon.
Yeah. So you're going to want to do some. You're
So
going to want to do some
PvP.
PvP.
20 spell power versus 20 stamina versus like 39 spell power. 39 spell power gives consecrate like 1 or 2 damage. It's really minimal on your AoE. Whereas the stamina early on is I lean more towards stamina early on.
So we've had a guy in the stream. So Donksy has asked, "Will Rafa Cenarius be any good in TBC still?" So I don't know if you know what it is, but yeah, it's from it's from a quest line. So it's a ring. It's got no stats on, but it gives a chance when your harmful spells land to increase the damage of your spells and effects by 132 for 10 seconds. Now, I must admit, I've not really looked into this a great deal myself to know what the proc chance and all of that is, but just on some brief research, it's saying about 5%, and it refreshes itself in AoE situations. So it could actually maybe be quite strong for proc paladins.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at it now.
I think it will be.
Yeah, it'd be good. Just no stats on it. It's scary, but yeah, it's a good threat.
It could be something good for just solo play, couldn't it? It could be quite good just when you're out just AoE farming outside Black Temple or whatever.
Yeah, at that rate, though, you'll have the Alar trinket, the fiery tome.
And what does that do?
It's pretty much the same thing, but it's the Paladin class trinket out of TK. Chance on spell to give you chance on hit to give your spell, increase your spell damage by 290.
Wow, that's a crazy amount as well, isn't it?
Yep.
That's cool. So So we've done prot. Is there anything meta that you would want to add? Is there any items that you? Because mine really, honestly, if Dark Moon cards are out, Vengeance has just got my name written all over it. Which we know, depending on how they handle it, they might not be available for a couple of patches. But even if they're not available for a couple of patches, I'm still going to want it when it comes out. The
Sporgar shield for prot.
This is an interesting one.
Yep, it's chance on block to give a stat, or every time you block, to give a stack of deadly poison to the target.
Oh yeah, I believe you use that when you're boosting, don't you?
Yeah, well, yeah, it does. It does so much damage. Prop helis with like thorium or fell steel spikes. Fell steel spikes do so much damage on a prop heli because you're stacking shield block rating. So you block a lot of attacks. There's an Argent Defender. It's a quest from Strathome. Pretty easy quest. Gives a blue shield. So chance on block to increase your block rating by 250 for 10 seconds. And it can refresh. That's literally like 60% block chance when it procs.
And I suppose with the amount of mobs you've got hitting you as well.
That's 60% without Redoubt. That's 60% without Holy Shield. That is just flat block rating.
That's ridiculous.
So on some of those lower dungeons, like in ZF, I will put that shield on. And when that procs, it makes your Blessing of Sanctuary and your Fell Steel Spike literally pop off like crazy. Because you're blocking every attack, so you're reflecting holy damage, you're reflecting like thorns damage from your shield. There's a lot of like cool little things you can get that'll really make prop heli farming crazy strong.
You're going to need to come to EU servers, mate, just so you can boost all my ults.
Yeah. Boosting will be good money making too. People love to be lazy.
Exactly. I can't wait, honestly. The more every one of these podcasts we do, I just get more and more excited. And little it's probably really late into the video. People probably would have fallen asleep by now, but there's actually been a leak as well that there's a TBC announcement imminent. So very reliable source. He's been absolutely bang on the money with everything he said so far, including the date that Nax was going to release. He's got direct contacts in Blizzard, and he tweeted yesterday, or it might have even been early hours this morning, that there's something coming. So I personally trust this guy because he, as I say, he's just been bang on the money with everything. So I reckon by the end of next week, by the time we do another podcast, we'll know that TBC is confirmed. Could be wrong, but
I think they're just waiting for Shadowlands and Nax to just kind of get smoothed over, and then they can
the hype to die down.
TBC announcement to like overshadow everything.
Yeah, definitely. But anyway, sorry, that was just a little side note. So, have you got any items meta? Was there anything that you think we've missed, or?
Yeah, well, depending on how hard the raids are going to be, it's going to be pretty important to get as much like raw avoidance rating quite early on, because you want that cap, which is like just over 104%. I think the key items I used when I was playing Endless was the Vindicator's chest piece from Aldor Rep, the necklace from the Steam Vault people, Cenarian Expedition, or Cenarian Circle. And then I also used the cheeky trinket that you get from a Neverstone quest that gives you a lot of defense rating. Those are like the 3 items I used, and I pretty much kept on just to get that avoidance cap, so I didn't get one-shotted by Nightbane.
Yeah, well, interestingly, Cal, I don't know what your sort of strategy on it is, but when Warrior TSW was on last week for the Warrior podcast, he was saying you can more or less just get defense capped from questing in Neverstorm. Literally, there's just so many good greens.
You can. Prop Hellies, it's kind of weird. Like, you'll be running normals, so being defense capped isn't as crucial as it is for a raid, right? But you'll in order to like enter Kara though, you're gonna want some gear as a prop pally, and it's not just to like survive; it's to hold threat. I'm assuming it's gonna be an AOE fest, so having the righteous gears, a good spell power wep,
Yeah, righteous will be what I'm going for straight
I'll put it this way: if you get Continuum Blade, slap 40 spell power on it right away, because you're gonna use it for a while. Absolutely, it's a good weapon. You'll use it until either you want to upgrade the spell power, or if you get the arena weapon. And I think getting arena weapons in classic TBC is going to be 95% easier than it is on private servers. Private servers are where your Chad PvPers go to fucking flex on people, and it's very competitive.
Yeah. I think it will be a little bit of an easier time, in Classic. I mean, my experience of PvP on private servers in arenas was so bad that I just stopped doing it.
It is. I mean, but you've got these really good PvPers that have multiple tunes, or they're boosting characters, because account sharing on private servers is 1,000% easier and less risk than it would ever be on Classic or like live. So you have people buying and selling boost all the time, and I'm not talking like boost as in they'll play with you. It's they play your character.
And as you say, that will die in Classic. Yeah, no.
It will.
I'm not going to let anyone play my account.
Sharing in general on Classic is just really not a thing. It's not worth the risk unless you personally know the person. You're not going to give some random person your info.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it even flags up as security.
And Blizzard probably can track, I would assume Blizzard could track, where you're logging into the game from a little easier if you get reported.
Well, I'm fairly sure that if you log in from a different IP, maybe not all the time, but sometimes you log in on a different IP, and it basically
prompt it for like something though.
Yeah, it locks it. It locks your account. You have to then like go onto for an account security process.
Yeah. Two-step verify you. You'll have to get a code from your mobile phone.
Yeah, that's right.
But that's more in the PvP aspect of the game. But those items they're really good. That's why people will do it. People love chasing best in slot in TBC is a lot easier than in Classic. Way less competition in the 25-man than 40.
And there's a lot more options. I know there is that true absolute BIS list, obviously, but I do feel even with like when you're trying to put together sort of a pre-BIS raid set, there's a lot of options for every slot.
Of course, yep.
So we'll probably start rounding up because I'm conscious of time. It's probably knocking on for a couple of hours already. But what about? We'll just briefly touch on the other specs, and we will keep it brief. So, as a ret Paladin, if you was what are those key items that you want as ret early on? Let's just try and keep to like 1 or 2 items each. So, go on, Cal.
Your blacksmithing weapon is mandatory. If you're if you're a serious ret pally, you need to have a craftable weapon. And Rage of the Unraveler from Black Morass is probably your best starting DPS trinket. DST is a dream if you can get it, and Bloodlust Brooch. Weapons and trinkets. There's like expertise quest items, the Shatra leggings or whatever, or the Lower City Shapeshifters ring. They're to get some early expertise are nice, like in Karazhan, the Trash Gloves. Trying to get hit and expertise capped are nice. You're not going to get capped, I don't think, as a Ret Pally, but they're nice to have.
Yeah, definitely. What about you, Meta? Well, actually, interestingly, so what weapon, Cal? When you're saying blacksmithing weapon, what is better, Lionheart or?
I mean, I'm more PvE orientated, but if you're gonna PvP to get all your things, go Storm Herald. But if you're Alliance, I don't think it matters because you have both Mace and Sword expertise. But if the proc rate's high, Lionheart Executioner is really, really good. It strength, agility, proc strength. It's faster too, so as Horde, a faster sword is gonna proc Seal of Blood more. But
yeah,
Seal Twisting with the Storm Herald is probably gonna be easier because it's slower.
Yeah, that makes sense. What about you, Matt?
I go Lionheart. I go Lionheart.
But yeah, I would go Lionheart. And I agree with both Lionheart and Hourglass of the Unraveler. You know, crit 32, chance on crit to increase attack power by 300. Anyone who uses attack power is going to want that.
Yep.
And what would you say, Meta? I mean, I know the weapon is just going to be a big one for everyone, obviously, but.
Well, there's a green trinket that you can pick up from Quest. I can't remember the precise name of it. It's like Wrath of Agroka.
It's Core of Arkalos. Why did you take my one?
Yeah, it's Core.
Oh, sorry.
Is that in Tarot card?
And apart from that, I would get like, like the mini set blacksmithing and leatherworking pieces that give you a lot of hit chance. Probably just go for those.
Yeah.
Rage Steel. Yep.
Yeah.
Fell Leather and Rage Steel. They're really good.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's hard to disagree. I'd obviously blacksmithing weapon, absolute number one. Core of Arkalos, I would go for the trinket because it's basically a mini Bloodlust brooch. It's exactly the same sort of stat layout, but just slightly worse. But it's green, easily obtainable. And then the trinket. So the trinket from TerraKael, you was talking about, Cal. I assume you mean the hit trinket, don't you? From the Torgos.
I don't remember where Core of Arkalos drops. I was asking if it drops in TerraKael.
Oh, it's Neverstorm. It's the Neverstorm quest line at the Kiranvar village, or the undead village.
Oh yeah. It's just like a down version of Bloodlust Brooch, isn't it? Or hit?
Yeah, no, its equip is 32 attack power, and then use effect is 200 attack power.
Yeah. So it's just a minor version of Bloodlust Brooch.
Yeah, so that, and then the only one I would add then is the hit trinket, which basically any DPS is going to want to get from TerraKael, from killing the bird Torgos or whatever it's called, because that's just hit and then attack power or spell power. Cool.
Worth keeping a trinket from Cenarian Circle rep in Classic WoW.
Earth Strike?
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, that is big. I mean, Holy is quite a boring one, I suppose, really, but we'll just touch on it briefly. I mean, for me, if I was Holy, I know it's not really the greatest stats, and I wouldn't even recommend it personally, but the Primal Mooncloth set, it's going to be massive amounts of plus healing early on.
Yeah. So the Libram from the Nezingway quest, I'm pretty sure is best in slot for Holy. That's a big one.
What one's that?
Oh, I don't.
Oh, yeah, no, I know what you mean.
Yeah,
it's just flat plus healing to Holy Light, isn't it? If I remember right.
It's Flashlight or Holy Light. There's not much options early on, so it's really good. It's that, or you need if you're coming from Classic, the one from Saf I think is technically best in slot. Of course, Netherstorm has some quest legs that are really good for Holy Paladin, and I wouldn't ever try crafting the healing weapon because it's just too expensive. Too many primal mites. Just try to get sockets as a Holy Paladin. Generically, you want int gems. It's the best way to put it. Just things with sockets.
I think healing weapon wise, I'd probably just go straight for the Essence Focuser.
Yeah, Essence Focuser, 100%. And then you can pair it with the BOE shield too if you want. There's a BOE shield as well.
Yeah, I can't think of the name of it, but yeah, I know the one you're talking about. What meta Holy Paladins? Is there anything you think we've missed?
No, like I've never really played Holy Paladin. Although I think since there's so much like healing power in tier 3, I think it may be worth keeping a few tier 3 pieces.
Yeah, you're gonna like even Rejuve Gem. To be fair, will be fairly strong.
Oh yeah, that's insanely strong. There's the, I think it's the Saffron Foresight. Like it's Kel'Thuzad or Saf Trinket too. Like they're really strong.
I mean, the KT weapons actually rival. I'm pretty sure the KT healing weapon is actually better than the Epic from Heroic Murmur in Shadow Labs.
I think it is too.
Cool. All right. Well, look, I feel like we've probably droned on enough for everybody, and we've gave. Well, yeah. I mean, loads of information. I've learnt loads, which is good because I'm playing a Paladin. So, obviously, Cal, thanks so much for coming on, mate. Obviously, we know your experience in TBC is just unrivaled. And Meta, obviously, thanks for being part of the furniture as always, along with me. So, obviously, next week we're going to do... I keep trying to do Hunter, but I'm still really struggling. I've got one Hunter that I need to get in touch with on Discord who's reached out. So, we may do Hunter next week, but it's going to either be Hunter or Rogue, because I like the thought of doing a Rogue podcast, because we'll probably have it over and done within 5 minutes. So, just
play Rogue, get Warglaves.
Yeah, that's it. Or get benched.
Literally, I love the people... The people that play an expansion for the legendaries they're very interesting people. I love it.
Cool. All right. Well, look, guys. Yeah. Thanks. As I say, thanks again, and thanks to everybody on Twitch watching live, and thanks to everybody on YouTube, Spotify, wherever. Obviously, you can find this absolutely, pretty much anywhere you can get a podcast. You can find this. So, if you missed any, or you've just joined the stream, then obviously feel free to go and watch it back. But yeah, thanks again, guys, and I'll catch you soon.
All right, man. Thanks.
See ya.